The drop is undoubtedly one of the toughest shots in pickleball. It's so necessary to be able to get into the kitchen line and be aggressive and win a lot of points. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned player, it is important to master this shot to be able to improve to the next level and be able to beat your opponents. What we're going to take a look at today is learning the ABCs of mastering the drop. All right, so the first tip for mastering the drop is the footwork. So what we're looking for when we're doing footwork is making sure that when we hit that serve, we're transferring our weight, obviously, because that's what we want in a good serve. We want to make sure we get back in a ready position, good distance behind the baseline, so that we can move forward into our drop or move our body in position to the ball. A lot of mistakes that we see with players is they're just totally worried about hitting the ball, period, and they're not concerned about getting behind it with our footwork and getting the ball in front. So a lot of times they'll reach out and they're just getting it here, or they'll hit to the depth of their body on their side. And what this does is make us not hit the ball center. If we're hitting edges or we're hitting just even slightly off center, we lose power, we lose touch to be able to get the ball where we want to, especially in a touch shot like a drop. So what we want, again, is to make sure we're transferring our weight into the serve, we're backing up, getting in position. Once they hit that return, we're getting ourselves behind the ball with our paddle in front so that we can get it clean in front of our body and move forward into our shot so that we can transfer our weight to eventually possibly get to the kitchen line.
Real quick, thanks to our sponsor of this video, Lock Laces. I'm loving these lock laces. I was a skeptic at first, but as you can see, I'm using these. I've played competitive games, I'm running. I love them because I used to use laces that would rip, they were too long, I'd triple knot them. Now I've got these, you can slip them off. I can go like this, loosen them up, and then it loosens up the shoe enough. But when I tighten it up, it's real tight and I'm not getting my shoe off. So check out these lock laces, it's a great addition to your pickleball game. All right, this next tip for the drop is what we like to call lock and load. So first I'm going to talk about the lock side of things. We want to make sure our wrist is really locked, and then also kind of at the elbow, our arm is locked as well. Too often we see the mistake that people get wristy, and that's where you really can pop up your dinks, you lose a lot of control because you're accelerating through too fast and it's becoming whippy. So think we're locking our wrist here, and really we're using our shoulder a lot to push the ball through. And something with the new technology of the paddles, even just in the last couple of years, there's a lot more spin, you can get grit. Not like, you know, with other paddle sports like tennis, where you can really come over it, but you can add a little bit of push out here. Now as a beginner, your main focus is just locking that, and I'm gonna bring the load in now. We're loading our legs, Elisha just talked about the footwork, getting behind it. So we lock our wrist, we load our legs, and we're pushing the ball through just over the net. And as I talked about, when you do add a little bit of spin, it brings the ball down and it doesn't sit up as much. So as you do start to get a little more advanced, you're not just gonna wanna pop these up because it hits, sits up, and your opponents can put that away. But you add a little bit of spin and that's gonna stay lower, so then you have an easier time getting into the net. So everyone picks up on things a little bit different. So to go off of that last bit that I just talked about, another way to think about it is we tell people don't jab or stab. You don't want to be, I talked about locking the wrist, you want to lock, you don't want to flick it. But another thing we see is people jab at it and they stab at it to hit that drop. So we don't want to do that. Instead of jabbing and stabbing, we want to think about a nice smooth motion. If you can think about hitting the drop almost in slow motion, that whenever I slow things down, that's when I play my best. So slow it down, you really, to get more power, finish through higher. Finish through and out, and that's gonna get the ball over the net. When you jab and stab, that's just gonna take away all the control that you have.
Another tip to mastering the drop is making sure that all your swing is happening in front of your body. A lot of times we see people take big swings back, and the problem is we get caught late or we miss-hit the ball when we're taking these big swings. It's not that you can't hit a good drop, it's just more difficult. So what we like to do, if you want to create a loop or something like that, that's fine, but just keep it very simple and in front of your body in a simple motion. Again, you don't need power. When you think bringing your paddle back and through, you're thinking a drive with power, but when we're talking drops, we're talking about a soft shot. So all you need is keeping the paddle in front of you and keeping a simple motion where you're pushing through. Another thing as well is making sure that you're taking more forehands than you are backhands. I've always found backhands to be tougher, especially in point play. So what I like to do is making sure I get my speed enough to get, and even hitting almost an inverted drop here, this sometimes is a better drop that I hit rather than a backhand. So I like hitting my forehand regardless of whether it's center of my body, right or left in front of me. So make sure that you're really getting good at one side. If that's your backhand, then all power to you. But most people are better with touch with their forehand. So get really proficient at that forehand side, and most of the time you'll be able to hit successful drops along with your forehand. And if you want to keep working on your backhand, obviously, but try to isolate that forehand and hitting more forehand drops than backhands.
Real quick, guys, we're real excited to be using the new Engage carbon fiber paddles. If you do want one, 20% discount in the description below.